broadcasting. Yards, touchdowns. Shut your mouth, broadcasting. First round draft pick. Believe we got stats, kid. Quarterback stacking. 100-yard dashing. So tap in for the action. What teams got traction?
Welcome to the Sim Podcast. I'm your co-host Eric, and I'm always joined by my co-host Ron. What up, Ron?
What's going on?
You know what we do? We talk about the National Football League on a weekly basis, including the playoffs. Ron, how do you feel about Week 8 going on? It just passed, whatever.
Yeah, it's behind me. Well, let me put it that way. It was a horrible Week 8 for both of our teams, so I'm looking ahead.
And I know, and this is weird because this week you actually hit the trifecta.
I did.
You actually predicted all the games perfectly, even though your team lost. And this is action-packed week because this is technically what I considered the mid-season, but not really because there's 17 games. But we're gonna talk about Week 8. We're going to talk about Week 9. We're going to talk about the NFL news. We're going to have our over and unders, where we at with the playoff teams. And then we're going to talk about our awards and let's still have a chance. So I don't know what's going to happen with... I was looking at it earlier on, and two people that I chose are in injury reserve. So it's like, wow.
One guy that I chose for Rookie of the Year was benched. So... You know, I was way off.
Yeah. Well, you know what? I feel if people listen to this and place bets, I feel bad for them because you shouldn't listen to this to like measure up like, oh, what should I put my bet on? Right. So let's start off with NFL news because we actually have a lot this week. And let's start out with the trades that went down yesterday while everyone was trick-or-treating. People were making moves. Mm-hmm. The biggest one I thought, and should be in the news, is San Francisco acquired Chase Young from Washington. Ron, San Francisco just got smacked by the Bengals. Mm-hmm. Does this make them better, worse, right? You know, they no change. What? Why did they do this?
They needed a second pass rusher. You know, this whole entire season, I think there's been too much pressure on Bosa. They didn't have that second guy, and I think that's what they're hoping Chase Young will bring them. Now, he's been kind of an up-and-down player. Lots of talent, for sure. For a former first-round pick, you know, playing, I think this is his final season. He needs to be, you know, re-signed for next year. So it's an important year for him. Let's see. You know, I think he's a good player. Let's see if he can. I think he's going to help. You know, get that team over the hump.
I think that they, you know, it's. I don't mean to quote another journalist, but usually when the trade season comes, it's for good teams, right? Mm-hmm. It's not for bad teams. So San Francisco made this trade, and it's almost like saying, listen. Our secondary is not that good. We need, especially because Joe Burrows just blew us up. But Joe Burrows is top tier quarterback, right? So he would have blown up anybody, especially the way he's playing. But I kind of applaud this trade because defense wins championship.
Yeah, so I mean, you're right. At this time of the year, the teams that are all in, meaning they know they're going to be in the playoffs, they're preparing at this point to make a playoff run. They got to fix whatever issues they have, whether it's like San Francisco with a second pass rusher or another team not having a receiver. You know, you got to, if you're going to be all in, you got to be all in and try to fix whatever the issues are on your team. Eagles did this for the past couple years too, right? At the trade deadline, they make some splash plays, splash moves to put them over the hump. And I think that's what San Francisco is shooting for here.
And, you know, not to leave San Francisco behind, Seattle acquired Leonard Williams from the Giants. And, you know, when I heard the news, I texted you and my friend Chris, our friend Chris, and I was like, Leonard Williams, what does that sound familiar? So I listened to the podcast that we did for the Giants review, and Chris was like, "Yeah, I'm gonna get a Leonard Williams jersey," and I was like, "Oh, that's where I heard that."
Yeah.
And I was just like, "Oh man, I hope he didn't get the jersey."
Yeah.
Because now he's like Seattle fan. But so what does it mean? Seattle is basically doing the same thing as San Francisco, right?
Right. So they got a playoff team. They gotta fix some issues too, and they're all in. And that's what they're trying to do as well. So it's a good move for them, and for the Giants too. And this is, if you're in the other end of the spectrum and you're not a good team, you don't have a hope of making the playoffs, and you're thinking building assets. You're also thinking expiring contracts. How do I get rid of some money off the books? So that's what some of these teams are doing too. And I think that's probably why the Giants said, you know what, let's get what we can at this point, and work on next year.
The other acquisition that Minnesota got Josh Dobbs from Arizona.
Mm-hmm.
So, and this is the story that I want to tell you, Ron. So Monday night, I was working Orlando City, right? First playoff game. So I usually work the side of the suites where the rich folks are, right? So who do I see, lo and behold, like 2 hours before the game? The Orlando City owner, which he also owns the Minnesota Vikings.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm like, okay. So he goes to uses the bathroom, comes back, and I'm like, all right, next time that he uses the bathroom, I'm gonna just ask him.
Mm-hmm.
So I look at myself and I'm like, okay, let me hide my ID, my lanyard, because I don't want this going back and being the reason. Oh, somebody complained about it. So I called him Mr. W, but if you do the research, you know what his name is. So I go, hey, Mr. W, how are you? He's like, doesn't know me from whatever. He just knows I'm an employee, right? He's like, hey, how are you? I'm like, I got one request and I got a question for you. He's like, oh yeah, go ahead. I was like, my first request is, can you drop the S from the Orlando City Soccer Club and just put an F? He's like, oh, he gave me some BS answer. He's like, oh, and then I was like, what's your other question? I was like, are you trading for Mac Jones? And he was like, I don't think he was expecting that kind of question. I thought he was going to be like, oh, is this another soccer related question? And he just kind of shook my hand, looked at my eye. He was like, oh, you're a Vikings fan? And I was like, 100%, man. I love.
That's what you said?
I love the Vikings.
So why would you?
Because I thought he was going to give me some inside
He
information.
probably thinks, man, who are you going to go leak this to?
I know.
Then, you probably knew that they were going to go after somebody.
Well, this is the funniest thing ever, because in my effort to seem like I really care about the Vikings, I go, Legion of Boom. Yeah, I love the defense. I love it.
No, you did not.
And I got my football confused. And I was like, oh, he's definitely gonna know that I'm not a fan. He's like, yeah, we have a good. He didn't flinch though. He was like, yeah, fans, blah blah. And I was just like, this dude knows nothing about football.
He probably wanted to save you from the embarrassment.
I mean, I even went deeper. I was like, yeah, I love when you got Randall L. He just nodded. Randall L. He plays for Steelers. He was a receiver. I was just lost. I couldn't think of any Viking players at all. But after asking him the question, he shook my hand and he was like, you know what? We're working on it. Fast forward to today. By working on it, that means they got Josh Dobbs?
Hey, listen, Josh Dobbs is a good quarterback, man. Is he someone that you want starting 17 games for your team? Probably not. But he's a great backup quarterback. I thought he played pretty well. He was up and down this year as a starter. They were never planning on, I think, keeping him as a starter in Arizona. So he's a good player. Whether or not he's gonna, be able to take Minnesota anywhere at this point, I don't know. I don't think so. But he's probably better than whoever they got on their roster right now today. So, we'll see. we'll see what happens. They need to make a move. This is probably the best that they can get, because if you think about what else was out there, maybe Tannehill, who's hurt, Mac Jones, to your point, which why would the Patriots give up on Mac Jones at this point?
Not when he under a rookie contract.
Yeah.
No. So let's talk about the other set of news is the McDaniels being fired.
Mm-hmm.
Because this is the second time now that he got fired.
Mid-season.
Mid-season too.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how I feel about that, because it is true. It's like he made a lot of dumb mistakes. Devontae Adams was mad, especially Monday night. He's mad as hell.
Hostile.
I mean, but fired the GM, so him and the GM got let go.
Yeah, it was him and the GM that said, let's get rid of Carr and let me get Garoppolo, because I want to recreate what I had in New England, apparently, right? They didn't want Josh Jacobs, I think, at the beginning of the year. They were trying their best not to keep him. They haven't used Hunter Renfrow whatsoever. They talked openly about trading him.
They traded Waller.
They traded Waller, so they have absolutely no idea what they were doing. So the GM had to go. And, as far as the coach, I think for what I've heard, he had lost the locker room. It was just like a very toxic situation there. And a lot of the players wanted out, so he had to go last week. That loss was embarrassing. Garoppolo didn't play well, missed some open throws, wide open throws. So, I think the owner said he's had enough, and he's like, I'm just going to make the move mid-season and, take the next 8-9 weeks, whatever's left, to start my search early and figure out what I'm doing next year. I'm not that surprised. Are you?
I mean, they gave him a 6-year contract.
Well, that part, yeah, they're going to be guaranteed too. So, yeah.
So basically, he's getting a check for the Raiders for the next 4.5 years. It's crazy. It's crazy. Like, all these owners just give out contract. And I think I read at the beginning of the season, the NFL league, the office, sent out this memo to all the owners saying, hey, you got to stop with this head coaching, firing, getting them contract and guaranteed, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah, makes no sense.
They did spreadsheet, you guys are on the books for however millions of dollars.
It's insane.
It's crazy.
And it's not just the coaches too. They just signed Garoppolo, right? He just got benched, right? For whoever they're playing. I think it's like a rookie, I think. So now you're giving Garoppolo guaranteed money to sit there on the bench as well. So it doesn't make any sense whatsoever. And with all these guaranteed contracts that, like you said, GMs are giving out, it either better work, or if it doesn't, it's going to blow up in your face. And that's what happened there in Vegas. So
yeah, it's just terrible. And so we have this QB carousel. I don't know. Is this the worst QBs that you've seen in a long time in the NFL? Because I don't remember the QBs being this terrible. At least the backups being this terrible.
I think it's top heavy for sure. The superstars are so far ahead. There's a big drop off after you get out, past number 6 or 7. It's just it falls off a cliff. Number 8, 9, 10, 11, it's just 1 week they're good, 1 week they're okay, and then you're questioning, are they the leader of your team? So I think, there's a lot of teams looking for quarterbacks. They thought they had them, and they obviously don't. Even with Dobbs being traded, for example, Kyler Murray, you expect him to start. There are questions about whether or not Arizona wants to keep him, right? Not just because of the maturity issues, but he hasn't been, he had one decent season, but I don't know if you can win the big, the whole thing and get to the playoffs with him as your quarterback. So
yeah, and I think we'll talk about it when we do the over and unders, because there's so many teams that are switching to QBs mid-season because either injuries, either their starting QB is not competent.
Yeah, Atlanta.
Yeah,
not
Tennessee.
good.
You're talking about
Chicago. I don't know if Fields is hurt right now, but I mean, they weren't winning with Fields. Wouldn't shock me if they. I mean, maybe they'll play him just to see what they got and then make a move after that. But you know, there's a lot of teams right now trying to figure out the guy that we have. Is this the right person, or who's behind him, or who can we get?
Yeah, who can you get?
That
because
could be possibly better.
The Rams are doing it because of injury. Then you have Cleveland.
Yeah, I mean, if Cleveland kept winning, would you rush the Sean Watson back? I think he's back to practicing and stuff now, but
they just it's terrible. All right, let's talk about the Week 8 recap because you remember last year I had a trifecta, but this year you got the trifecta. So let's start with New England at Miami. I had it 24-17 New England. You had 20-31. The final score was 17-31. Ron, this is one of your trifectas. You predicted this. Why were you so confident Miami was going to win?
Yeah, I got the Miami part of the score exactly right. I almost got both parts right. I just think Miami's a really good team. I think I think
at home they're a good team.
Yeah. At home, they're a good team. On the road, they can win too. They have things that other teams don't have, and it's just like speed all over the field on offense. And it's very hard to stop that. The only way to stop that is to out-muscle them. And I don't think New England has sufficient muscle. Big guys up front, big guys in your secondary to slow those guys down. I'm not surprised at the score. I had them winning by 11. They ended up winning by 14. So Miami's the real deal, especially if they're playing at home, like you said.
Yeah, I went against them because I just didn't believe that they were going to manhandle New England the way they did. And I wasn't, the first half was pretty close, but if you're not scoring the way that they're scoring, you're not going to beat. That just, even though their defense is, it's not really the best one, they're just going to outscore every team. And, what are you going to say about Mac Jones? He turned it over when you're not supposed to turn it over. I think that it was like 17-10. We had the ball. We know that Miami's going to get in the second half. 2 minutes left, driving the ball, and Mac Jones just turns it over.
I didn't watch it. It was a bad.
It was basically almost like across the field.
Another one of those. Okay.
Another one of those. It's like this time he left it. It was almost like a rainbow arc. And the cornerback for Miami just picked it. It was like, what are you doing? And then afterwards, he was just like,
was it Ramsey who got the pick?
Ramsey got the pick. Yep.
Okay. All right.
So
he's back.
Yep. And it's like, I don't think that they were even throwing to that side the whole game. So the fact that he went there when he wasn't supposed to, I don't know. It's just
wait till I don't know if Miami has Xavier Howard back yet, but imagine those two corners, Ramsey and Howard. Those are two solid cornerbacks. It's gonna be. I'm telling you, it's gonna be tough. It's gonna be the right team with the right condition that's gonna have to just punch them in the mouth to beat them.
This is why it's imperative that they win that division, because if they have to go on the road during the playoff, I just can't see them winning. Because that offense has so many moving parts. I just can't see them going on a silent count, especially when the crowd is going crazy and it's playoff time. Even though, and we'll talk about our awards, Tua is a front runner for the MVP. I just can't see them winning on the road. I can see them winning at home, but not on the road. Jacksonville at Pittsburgh. You had it 24-20. Jacksonville, I had 24-17. Pittsburgh, final score was 20-10. Jacksonville, Ron, this was your team. They didn't even get to 20 points.
Yeah.
you watched this game. What happened?
It was a disaster from go. We missed start of the game, wide open pass, a little bit high. Deontay drops it. That would have been a huge play. Potentially, Deontay splits the safety and cornerback and scores a long, like 70-yard touchdown. But it was a miss. So we go 3 and out. The second drive, I think, is when Kenny missed a throw to Pickens. Just laid it out a little bit too short, didn't put his full arm into it. So we got off to a slow start once again, and then the injury started. And Blatt, terrible officiating, which I don't want to get on a rant about the officiating because it is what it is.
Yeah,
it's not going to get any better. But Minka goes down. Kenny gets laid out into the ground, no flag. So he's out, and you're playing all of a sudden from behind with no safety, right? We got a couple of guys that aren't very good. There was some miscommunication. We ended up giving up a big, long touchdown score, but offensively, we just couldn't do anything. Trubisky goes in there and throws 3 interceptions, being way too aggressive. We couldn't run the ball whatsoever. It was just not this team is not built to come from behind. So when you get off the slow starts like we did, and again, this one was self-inflicted. There was nothing about Matt Canada he had nothing to do with this loss. We just didn't execute. Oh, I forgot to mention, Kenny missed a touchdown throw too. Miscommunication again. He expected Deontay to sit on his route. Deontay kept sliding, and Kenny just missed him. So those things, you can't have those mistakes. Guys being wide open and you're missing those throws, or they're not on the same page with you as far as their routes or dropping balls. Those are killers, drive killers. And if you just make one of those plays or 2 of those plays, it changes the entire dynamic of the game. And this team is just so young. This offense is, and there's so many issues, between the offensive line, players not being on the same page with the quarterback, the offensive scheme just being terrible. It's a lot to fix. And so I'm not surprised they lost. It was disappointing though, for sure. And even more disappointing that players got hurt.
Yeah, because when I texted you at halftime, it was 9-3, and I said this game is still winnable, especially at home, but just can't win a game if you score 7 points and the other team scores more. What I got from this, and I didn't watch any of this game, is Kenny gonna play on Thursday?
Yeah, he's off the injury report altogether, so there's some questions all week about his availability. So he avoided anything like structural. It was his ribs. I'm sure he has like some bruising and some pain, but they took him off the injury list altogether. So he's active. He's gonna start.
So let me be honest with you, because we're doing the mid-season review. Is this team capable of going to the playoffs? Because I picked them to win the division, and now this is one where I'm having second thoughts now.
Well, I don't want to jump into that conversation just yet, but the short answer is yes, they can, but they got a lot to fix between now and the end of the year.
So in that division where it looks like the Bengals are waking up, Baltimore is leading, and Cleveland, I don't know about Cleveland. They have a pretty good defense.
Very good defense.
But the quarterback play is terrible. Probably the worst quarterback play within the 4 teams. So you saying that this is like a 7th, like a wildcard team then?
I think so.
Yeah.
And we'll talk more about that.
Let's talk about our upset specials, because you had Cincinnati over San Fran 23-21, but final score was 31-17. Ron, is the Purdy experiment over?
No, not at all. And all these people like jumping on the Purdy bashing. Fans are just so, week to week, right? You go out and perform well, they want to crown you as like the MVP. The next week you go out and have a bad game, or an okay game, which your team loses, all of a sudden they're like, let's get rid of this guy and find somebody else. Purdy hasn't played that great, but he's not the issue. They have a lot of other issues on the team right now, health being one of them, defense. We talked about Chase Young. They're going to be fine. I'm not worried, and they shouldn't be worried at all with Purdy or where they're at. They played at home, yes, but against the Cincinnati Bengals, and Joe Burrow won top 3 quarterback in the NFL. So, they didn't play well, but it is what it is, and you got a lot of games left too, and I'm sure they still feel that they're one of the top teams in the NFC.
And when we do a power ranking, I got them out of my top 5, even though some people still think that they should be in there, but I got them out. Ron, my upset special, I have the Rams. I'm looking at the wrong week. I have Chicago beating the Chargers 24-21. But the Chargers actually scored 30 points. It was 13-30. Last week I was like, I'm out on the Chargers. But then I picked even worse team as my upset special. I watched that game and Chicago did nothing. Nothing. On offense, they did nothing. I thought that guy Tyson was gonna just let it go. But it seemed like he never seen the playbook before. Like, he was overthrowing people. He was rushing his passes. I was just like, was last week just like, one of those, you got lucky? I don't understand. It was just, I'm done with Chicago. If this was a suicide league, I would never pick Chicago. I would never, because they're just a terrible team. I don't know what else to say. They were just terrible. Let's go over and unders for the mid-season, and let's look at the first. Is the AFC East. Ron, you chose Miami. I chose Buffalo. Miami's leading. Are you sticking with Miami?
Absolutely.
I'm going to stick with Buffalo because I'm not 100% sold on Miami. And I think that Buffalo, like I said, they just acquired a quarterback because they feel like quarterback is all they're missing. But I think that the loss of Matt Milano,
that's huge.
That's huge. I don't know if they can shut down people like they used to back in the day. So
Buffalo just went out and got Fournette, I think. Leonard Fournette. They just signed him to the practice squad, I believe. So in a couple of weeks, I assume he'll be elevated and be one of the running backs for that team. He should help a little bit, but I still got Miami winning.
So they did, because is it one of the Cook brothers playing there too?
Yeah. He's a starter.
Yeah, I don't know about that. AFC North. Ron, you got Baltimore. I got Pittsburgh Steelers, like we just talked about. I'm actually going to change that one because I've seen enough of Matt Canada for the past 8 weeks. After the fact that the Steelers can't score 20 points consistently, I'm out on them.
Consistently? Like, let's just get one. Yeah.
Ever. I'm going to change this one to Cincinnati just to...
You're not sold on Baltimore?
Not yet, because I was looking at the MVP odds, and he's 4th.
That's stupid.
Behind Jalen Hurts, behind Tua, and behind Mahomes.
That's stupid.
Listen, until they actually win, I know they beat Detroit, but I think they're playing a good team this week, right?
I don't know who they play. I can take a look at their schedule.
Yeah, take a look at that for me. AFC South. Ron, you got Jacksonville. I got Tennessee. I'm going to be in agreement with you. I think Jacksonville takes this one all the way.
Yeah, the Ravens got the Seahawks, so they got a tough matchup.
And I think that's your upset special, right?
It is, but it doesn't mean that I think any less of the Ravens. I think they're a good team.
AFC West. Kansas City for both. Really, that division is terrible. and they just got rid of Josh McDaniels. Not like he made a big difference, but so let's go in the NFC East. We both got Philadelphia. No change there, right? NFC North. You got Detroit. I got Green Bay. Listen, Green Bay, everything was set up for them. Easy schedule. They have a decent defense. But Jordan Love, Jesus Christ.
He's okay.
He's not okay. Would you please stop with the okays? Mac Jones and now Jordan Love. He's terrible. Terrible. He couldn't beat Atlanta. He couldn't beat Minnesota when, the defense was tight, was good in Minnesota, but couldn't beat Chicago. I'm definitely changing. I just don't know if Detroit is just going to take over that division now that Kirk Cousins is out. So they don't have any competition, really. So, yeah, definitely going to be Detroit. NFC South. I got New Orleans. You got Tampa Bay. Atlanta is currently leading it. Are you going to stick with Tampa Bay?
Yeah, I'm not going to Atlanta. It's just now switching their quarterback. So, yeah. And then New Orleans, you got Carr and that mess that's going on there. Yeah, why not Tampa? Tampa's good enough. They haven't played that well recently. But, yeah, there's no reason they can't win that division.
I'm going to still stick with New Orleans because I've seen enough of Baker Mayfield, and he's not the same guy. He has the weapons, and he still can't get. Tampa Bay should be scoring in the 20s every game.
They have zero running game, like zero.
So you're gonna exactly my point. So you're gonna just heavily commit to Mayfield. I'm gonna stick with New Orleans. NFC West, I got Seattle. You got San Francisco. Seattle is currently leading the division. Ron, do you want to make a change?
No, just sticking with San Francisco.
So you like Brock Purdy that much? They lost 3 in a row now.
Whoop-de-doo. Teams lose 3 in a row.
They still not good teams. Supposedly good teams.
Yeah, they do. And they still go on to win the Super Bowl. Look at Cincinnati. Cincinnati
starts
horrible
low.
Starts.
It's the difference between starting slow and just like they basically San Francisco didn't win a game in October.
Yeah, wow.
Yeah. So I don't know. I'm gonna stick to Seattle. I think San Francisco has bigger problems than just getting Chase Young. The wild card. Who you had? Buffalo, Cincinnati, Pittsburgh. I had Baltimore, Jacksonville, Cincinnati. Currently, we have Buffalo, Pittsburgh, Cleveland. Do you want to make a change to any of those teams?
No. So even though Cleveland's in there right now, I got them falling out. I'm sticking with my Buffalo, Cincinnati, Pittsburgh. I still see 3 teams from the AFC North. Part of it is, just because some of these divisions are just so weak, to be quite honest with you, right? So I can't see, for example, 2 teams coming out of the AFC South, right? It's going to be the Jags, and that's it. And then if you look at the AFC West, obviously it's the Chiefs at 6-2. They're going to run away with it, but I don't have any hope in the Chargers being under 500 right now, bouncing back and making a playoff run. Definitely not the Raiders or Broncos. So, so that's part of it for me that I see 3 teams out of the AFC North.
Yeah, I'm not really making a change. Well, actually I am, because now I have Cincinnati winning the AFC North, which means it leaves another open up space. And I'm going to put Miami there because I feel like since Buffalo's going to win the division, I feel like Miami is going to get that playoff spot.
So who do you have? So you have Baltimore, Jacksonville, and Miami as your wild card. And then, all right, so who do you have out? Then I'm trying to figure out.
No, actually, because I have 2 changes here. I have Cincinnati winning and Jacksonville winning. So I have to take Jacksonville out of the wild card, and I'm actually going to put...
Oh, that's right. Okay.
Yeah, because Cincinnati is going to win that, right? I'm going to go with Houston. I think Houston gets that wild card.
You've lost your mind.
I am a big CJ Stroud believer. I feel like he's going to lead this team to a wild card
You
win.
have lost your mind.
It only takes 8 victories, maybe less than.
Yeah, well, I think it's going to take more than that. I think it's going to take 9 at the very least. And listen, CJ Stroud has had a good year. That team is being coached well for sure. They just lost to the Panthers. They gave them their first win to the Panthers. So
yeah, and that was a road game. I'm gonna give them some slack on that, because they're so young. I feel like they're the ones. If there was an over and under at the beginning of the year was 4 wins for them. I think that they're gonna beat that. So is it enough for them to get in the playoff? I think it is. NFC, you have Minnesota, Dallas, Seattle. I had Detroit, San Francisco, Dallas. Do you want to make a change?
No.
You want to stick with Minnesota? You believe in Josh Dobbs?
No. I'm changing Minnesota. So let me take a look. So I'm sticking with Dallas and Seattle. Let me look at standings real quick.
Yeah, because now that I had switched Detroit to winning the NFC North, I actually have to pick another team to basically win enough games to get in the wild card slot.
Yeah, I'm sticking with Minnesota because outside of that, again, looking at these divisions, NFC South is terrible to me. And, I think whoever wins the NFC South is going to be right around 500 at like 9-8, just like they were last year, I think. So that leaves the NFC North. You got the Lions at 6-2. Vikings, they don't have a quarterback right now, but they're still 500. Season isn't over yet. We got 2 teams coming out of the NFC West already with the Seahawks and 49ers. I don't see the Rams making a run there. And then I got 2 teams coming out of the East with the Eagles and Cowboys. So the only other option would be like Washington at 3-5, somehow making a run.
Now when they sold a bunch of assets.
Exactly, you just sold 2 of your assets. So I'm sticking with Minnesota.
I'm going to make the switch to Tampa Bay. I think Tampa Bay wins enough games. This NFC
2 teams
overall
out of the South.
Yeah, because I already have, like you mentioned, 2 teams out of the West, and I already have 2 teams out of the East, and I don't have any trust in the NFC North except for Detroit. I don't know in Minnesota with Josh Dobbs leading the way has enough.
I love the Minnesota coach, that head coach. I forgot his name off the top of my head, but he's a great coach.
Kevin O'Connell. Yeah, he was drafted by the Pats a couple of years ago. He didn't make any impact, but I guess he was actually awake during the studies. Yeah, so I made 5 changes from the beginning of the year because I just don't see the other teams making it.
Yeah, man, I loved my picks at the beginning of the year. I'm sticking with all of them, it looks like. So, the AFC I had locked up for the most part. All the teams in the AFC I got, pretty dead on as far as the divisions, at least as of right now. And then for my wild card, nothing's changing there. So I'm good. I'm good with my picks. If the season's going basically how I thought it would, with the exception of Minnesota, I thought it would be a little bit better. Not struggling at this point to find a spot.
And let's go into the power rankings because I want to talk about the fact that San Francisco didn't make my top 5. So who made your top 5?
So Philly, I got number 1. They were number 1 last week. I got Miami at number 2. They had them at number 4 last week. Detroit at number 3. I had them at number 5 last week. Baltimore at 4. They were at number 3 last week. And then Kansas City at number 5. I had them at number 2 last week. So I dropped them down from 2 to 5. San Francisco was out of my top 5 last week. And I, like you said, I picked them for my upset special. So I thought they would lose 3 in a row. It doesn't mean that they can't jump back in. I think they are one of the top 5 teams at the end of the year. I think they're one of the top 8 right now. So they're right around 7, 8. I think that is where I'd probably put them right now.
Yeah, this I have Philly. Last week I had KC, and then they are not even in my top 5. That game that they lost was horrendous. No one should lose to the Denver Broncos. So I got them out of my top 5. I got Baltimore, Miami, Jacksonville, and Detroit. So I don't have San Francisco because 3 games in a row, something's wrong with your team. I'm sorry.
You won 5 in a row. And going back to what you said about Kansas City, and I should have saw this coming too, because the spread was something ridiculous. I think like 9 points or some crap like that. That does not happen in divisional games. I don't care if you have the best team in the world versus the worst team in the world. When you're playing interdivisional games, those are always close. Those teams know each other too well for them to be like crazy blowouts like that. So I'm not surprised on the road that Denver pulled off an upset, especially when Kansas City hasn't played a full, complete game yet. So I'm not all that surprised.
And I saw a stat where he was basically, Mahomes was, I don't know, like undefeated against divisional opponents.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So he was due for a loss.
Yeah.
Yeah. So San Francisco and Kansas City no longer in my top 5, but I'm sure they'll be back
I'm
sooner or later.
surprised you have Detroit just at number 5, though.
Well, I feel like Detroit, even though they haven't beaten somebody, of high caliber, they still put on points, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I got them there at number 5. So let's talk about week number 9, because let's start with Washington at New England. New England's favored by 3.5. Ron, what's your score?
Yeah, this was a tough one for me because I really like Sam Howell. I like some of the receivers for Washington. I can see Washington pulling off an upset here. So I picked New England 21-20 just because I don't know what's going to happen with the Commanders' defense. And, Bill Belichick still knows how to put together a good plan against the opposing team's offense. So I got New England winning 21-20, but it would not shock me if Commanders win this game.
Yeah, I got New England winning 24-17, but I think Washington can put up points. Mm-hmm. They almost beat the Eagles last week, but that was a division game, so anything goes. But if you don't have the right game plan, I think that they can make it up as they go, especially with Eric Bieniemy. I think that he's going to know what to do. Mm-hmm. But ultimately, I think Sam Howell, he just makes more mistakes than Mac Jones in this game. Mm-hmm. So I got them winning 24-17. Thursday night, Tennessee at Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh is favored by 2.5. Ron, what score did you do?
Yeah, so if you're favored at home by anything less than 3, that basically means it's a pick 'em. So I got Tennessee winning 17-13. I don't trust that Kenny Pickett is fully healthy. I don't like that they have not been able to put anything together offensively yet. They're just not on the same page, not in sync. Cam Hayward's back. That's going to be huge for them defensively against Derrick Henry. I think they'll get some pressure on the rookie quarterback. I don't think he's going to throw for like 4 touchdowns like he did last week. I just don't think Pittsburgh has enough offensively. I think this is where the players are going to have to come together and have a players only meeting if they end up losing this game and saying, what the fuck are we doing? Because it's not just on coaches. It's about team, the players executing. And if you go down, and lose to Tennessee at home, and then your record all of a sudden, you're right back at 500, then you got to have a coming to Jesus meeting with your players at that point. So
you think that if they lose this game and go to 500, they could still get in the playoffs?
I do, because I still think with the division games, I think they're 2-0 within the division right now. And I think their schedule's still pretty weak the rest of the way. So they can find a way defensively, especially now. Well, Minka's going to be gone for a little bit, for a few weeks, but if they can get healthy on defense with Hayward coming back, they can win, pull some games out just defense, by playing defense.
I got them winning this game 17-14. I'm not a Levis believer yet. I want to see them win one on the road. I know last week was on home. Everyone looks good at home because the crowd gets quiet. You can have the count. But I know that yellow tower waving, and I know that crowd is going to be chanting "Go Steelers." I don't know if Levi's is ready for that yet.
They'll be chanting "Fire Matt Cannon." That's what they'll
whatever
be chanting.
they're chanting, it's still going to be loud. So Levis is going to have an issue. And this is important. Every game is important, but this one, especially if you saw what the Bengals did to San Francisco, you gotta be up for this game. You gotta say, hey, we got somebody that's waking up, poking the tiger. So we gotta win this game. If they go 5-4-4, I see this team not even making the playoff. Yeah. Even if they have a players meeting, I just don't see it.
Yeah, and when I say they're in the playoff, I still mean like 9-8. Not like 10 wins or 11 wins or anything like that. I see them sneaking in still at this point.
Ron, who is your upset special?
So, Baltimore, my number 4 ranked team right now. I talked about Seattle coming into Baltimore this week and pulling off the upset. So I got them winning 27-24. Listen, I think Baltimore is a really, really good team. They've played some good teams and done well. They just beat Detroit like 2 weeks ago. I think they take a step back here, though, with Seattle. Seattle can run the ball really well. Smith is good. The receivers there, Seattle are really good too. So I just have a sneaky feeling that they're going to take the foot off the gas a little bit, and Seattle's going to pull off an upset. 5.5 point spread too. Seems pretty big.
Yeah, it seems pretty big. I was just about to say that. I have the Rams beating Green Bay at home. Green Bay's favored by 3, 20-14. I know the Rams they don't know if Stafford is starting yet or not, but Green Bay has been such a letdown this whole year. I just don't see them winning this game. I have them 20-14. I don't even know if Green Bay gets to 14 points because Jordan Love has been that terrible. He's been that terrible. So I have the Rams winning that game. Before we get off week 9, there's another team that's, slowly but surely they kind of I wouldn't say waking up because they've been good, but it's the whole Seattle thing, just like a Geno Smith type thing. It's like because I feel like they just snuck by Cleveland, right? Was it Cleveland they were playing?
I don't know. Let me see. I think it was Cleveland that they were playing, but I hear what you're saying, and I think they are a good team trying to figure out how to be great, but they don't have sufficient players yet, at least on the defensive side, to be great. Yeah, they beat Cleveland 24-20. And Geno, he's good, not great, right? Listen, it's a playoff team. How far can they go? I don't know. I think it would be stupid for any team to, let their guard down against them. But they're drafting well. They got Devin Witherspoon, the cornerback. They drafted a running back who's playing backup right now to Kenneth Walker, who's just a beast. They got a good team. They got a really good team.
Yeah, I just keep an eye on Seattle because I think that they're.
I don't see them breaking out to 12 or 13 wins or anything like that, if that's what you're saying.
No, I just say that, there might be a team that you don't want to play, whether it's on the road or at home. I feel like they're a team that not a lot of people are taking for granted. Let's talk about our awards, because as I mentioned to you earlier, 2 people that I chose are already on the injured reserve. And let's start with the rookies first. So, offensive player of the year for the rookie, you chose Zay Flowers. I went with Jordan Addison. Do you want to keep this pick? You want to change it? Because it's like, I feel like Jordan Addison, now that they have a new QB, not that he was doing so well with that Kirk Cousins, but it's like, this is very disappointing.
Yeah. No, I'm not changing it for my rookie. This guy consistently gets like 8 to 10 targets every week. Now, he hasn't had a lot of explosive plays just yet. I don't know why they're not throwing to him more downfield. But Zay Flowers is a great receiver. I told you I thought it was stupid for the Patriots not to take him. He's going to end up with 1,000 yards easily. So yeah, he's my rookie of the year.
I'm going to tell you who the favorite is right now. The favorite is CJ Stroud, followed by Puka.
Oh, I forgot about Puka. Is ridiculous too.
Jeremy Gibbs is also the top 3, and then the top 5 is Bijan Robinson, who's never getting the ball basically.
Yeah.
And then Jordan Addison. So I'm gonna stick with Addison.
Puka is setting all sorts of records right now, but I don't know who the quarterback's going to be for the next few weeks. So that probably would have been my guy right now. I want to stick with Zay Flowers, though. Let me pull up Zay Flowers' stats. I'm just curious where he's at right now.
Okay, defensive rookie of the year. Ron, you had Emmanuel Forbes. I had Christian Gonzalez, which he's injured for the year, basically. Are you going to stick with Emmanuel Forbes?
No, he's the guy I talked about. He got benched. So you got the favorites there right now?
The favorites I don't have for the defensive. Actually, no, this is just for the defensive player of the year. Let me check here.
Defensive rookies.
Oh, defensive rookies. So right now, the favorites are Jalen Carter, Devon Witherspoon, Will Anderson, and Brian Branch. And then leading in the 5th place, Joey Porter Jr.
JPJ has been incredible. But he, for whatever reason, he's been spoon-fed. I think he was just named the starter as of this week, basically. So he's going to see a lot of action going forward. It's a tough choice. I probably would give it to Jalen Carter. He's just
I'm switching mine to Jalen Carter because he's just offensive line. He just disrupts the game so much. He's definitely a special. So what did you find out about Zay Flowers?
Oh, right now, 44 receptions, 461 yards. So he's
so can he get to 1,000?
Yeah, he's on pace for 1,000. That's through 8 games so far. So yeah, he can definitely get to 1,000 yards. I don't see why they're not going downfield more often with him. And last game, nine receptions. No, this is I'm looking backwards. So the first game, 9 receptions, 78 yards. Last game, just 5 receptions for some reason. But yeah, I think he gets to 1,000 yards, right around like 90 catches or so. So I think that'll be enough to get him, depending on how CJ finishes the year, that'll be enough to get him the rookie of the year.
The other one that I have here is the comeback player of the year. We both went with Damar Hamlin, and he right now is the leader on the board, followed by Tua, Breece Hall, and Lamar Jackson, and TJ Watt.
This is tough. It's not as easy. It's not slam dunk because Hamlin was like a healthy scratch for the first few games this year, right? And Tua, you just said,
he's an MVP. He leads the MVP right now.
So I think that's where I would go right now is with Tua instead of Hamlin.
I'm going to stick with Hamlin only because I don't think that if Tua wins the MVP, I don't think he's also, well, he might. If he gets the MVP, he's definitely going to get the comeback. I don't think he wins the MVP though.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that he gets shortchanged. So I'm gonna stick with Hamlin, and you're gonna change it to Tua, right?
Yeah.
Coach of the year. You went with Mike Tomlin. I went with Matt LaFleur. Ron, do you want to change your pick?
Absolutely. Who am I going to go with at this point? I hate this guy, to be honest with you.
Hate him is a strong word.
I'm not a fan of Sirianni, is that his name? From Philly?
Oh, from the Phillies, yeah.
Not a fan of that guy. I just don't, You know what? I'm going to give it to Jacksonville's head coach.
Peterson?
Yeah.
You're going to go with Peterson?
Yeah, I'm going to go with Peterson.
I like Peterson. Right now, I'll tell you what the leaders are. We got Dan Campbell.
Oh, very
leading
good
the
choice.
way. We got Mike McDaniel.
Okay.
We got Robert Saleh.
Interesting.
DeMarco Ryans.
Yeah, he's a very good coach.
We got Doug Peterson, Pete Carroll, and John Harbaugh. I don't know.
Did you say the Miami coach?
Mike McDaniel.
Okay,
He's in second place.
All right. John Harbaugh, huh? That's interesting.
Yeah, I know.
Well, the Ravens are, 6-2?
Yeah, but I don't know if he coach of the year. He's been there for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like this kind of awards go to like people that are in the second, third year of coaching, first year coaching.
Mm-hmm.
I'm definitely change it, and I'm not picking Robert Saleh for sure.
No.
Because I think even if I don't see the Jets making the playoffs, right? Do you see them making the playoffs?
No, I had them out, but barely out because I had Pittsburgh in, barely in. So, no, I don't see them. But you know what? I am going to switch mine. I'm not going to go with Peterson. I'm going to go with Dan Campbell. I love the guy. I absolutely love him.
Yeah, I'm also going to go with Dan Campbell. I think that he's changed my mind about the Detroit Lions. I think that he changed everyone's minds about the Detroit Lions. So he better get this. He's gonna win the division. They might even win a playoff game or two. I don't think they're playoff bound. But yeah, I think that he's gonna get coach of the year. All right, so we're gonna get to the good ones now. Offensive player of the year. You have Tyreek Hill. And this is one, again, I picked Nick Chubb, and we know what happened to Nick Chubb. And I'll tell you who is the leader right now for the offensive player of the year. So Tyreek Hill is leading the way, followed by Christian McCaffrey, AJ Brown for some reason.
He's blown up the last three weeks.
Jamar Chase and Travis Kelce. So you want to stick with Tyreek Hill?
I'm definitely not going Kelsey. Okay, I'm so tired of Kelsey and Swift crap. I listen. I think Tyreek Hill. I need to see where he's at right now, but wouldn't shock me if he gets 2,000 yards receiving this year.
I think that's his goal. I'm actually gonna go with McCaffrey here.
Do you know what Tyreek Hill has already for receiving yards?
For how many?
1,000.
Jeez,
1,000 yards on 61 receptions already. And we're 8 games. He's 8 games in.
Yeah, he's in another dimension. Defensive player of the year. You picked Quentin Williams. I picked Micah Parsons. Ron, do you want to make a change? Right now, the leader is Micah Parsons.
Of course.
Followed by Myles Garrett.
Of course.
TJ Watt is number 3. Aiden Hutchinson is number 4. And Nick Bosa is number 5.
Okay. Aiden Hutchinson, I love. I mean, I'll say this until my face turns blue. TJ Watt's the best defensive player in the league. There's nothing he can't do that any other, any player can do. I think he should win MVP every year, defensive MVP every year that he's playing. So, I don't know what Quentin Williams' stats. He's not even on the list, apparently.
Well, he's on the list, but he's like 10th.
Yeah, so... I thought the Jets would have been a really good team at this point with Rodgers playing, and that's why I kind of went that way. I'm going to change my pick. I'm going with TJ.
You going with TJ?
Yeah.
Okay.
Assuming he stays healthy. But who leads the leagues in sack? Yeah, I know he did at one point. NFL sack leaders. Let's see. He's tailed off the last couple weeks, but at one point he was on pace for like 30 sacks or something crazy like that. So he is number 3 right now. So Daniel Hunter, 10 sacks. Josh Allen's from Jacksonville's at 9, and TJ Watt and Garrett and Thibodeau, interestingly, are tied at 8.5.
Yeah, this is, listen, I don't know why, maybe because Steelers fans are all over the country, so it's not for the lack of fans. Just, if you don't follow the Steelers in and out, as a journalist all the time, you're not going to pick Watt. I don't know if this is a popularity contest.
Oh, it's for sure. Let's compare. I'm going to look at these. I'm looking at these stats right now. So TJ and Micah Parsons both played 7 games. TJ Watt has had 13 solo tackles. Micah Parsons, 13 solo tackles. Let's see. Micah Parsons, 22 total tackles. TJ Watt, 18 total tackles. TJ, 8.5. Micah Parsons, 6 sacks. Tackles for losses. TJ Watt, 7. Micah Parsons got him there at 9. Pass deflected. TJ leads that 6-2. Forced fumbles. TJ leads that 2-1. Fumble recoveries. TJ leads that 3-1. Touchdown. TJ leads that 1-0. Why do people think Micah Parsons is a better player than TJ Watt? I don't know.
Because it's the Dallas Cowboys.
Yeah, okay.
That's why.
All right. Or Garrett. I can compare Garrett's stats. Not even close.
Oh, that's another one, too.
Yeah.
That's a popularity contest.
It's ridiculous.
Yeah, it's bad. MVP. You have Lamar Jackson. I have Patrick Mahomes. Like I mentioned earlier, Tua is currently leading the odds. Then second is Jalen Hurts. Third is Patrick Mahomes. Fourth is Lamar Jackson. And then fifth, McCaffrey.
Another popularity contest here, obviously. Yeah, I'm sticking with Lamar. Lamar, to me, is one of the best, players, any position in the NFL. I would take him in a heartbeat. Yeah, I like Mahomes. Mahomes can do things, with his arm that Lamar probably can't. Although I question that too. I think Lamar is a great thrower. Yeah, give me Lamar for MVP.
Yeah, I'm not gonna make a change. I think because if you are voting for MVP, you don't, you're just gonna go based on stats. And I think that Patrick Mahomes is gonna have better stats than Lamar Jackson. Maybe he's not gonna have he's not gonna be the best player on the team. I think there's gonna be others, but if you're a journalist, you're not gonna. If you don't actually watch every play, every down of Baltimore, you're not gonna pick Lamar Jackson MVP unless he has some kind of out of world experience in the playoffs. But I think, do they pick the MVP of the regular season? Right? They don't include the playoff, just regular season. Yeah,
I think it's just the regular season.
Yeah.
So I'm pulling up Lamar's stats right now. So 6-2 is the record. Thrown for 1,700 yards, 9 touchdowns, just 3 interceptions. And then you got to look at the running piece. as far as running the ball. So where is he at total? I would definitely have him as my number one quarterback.
Yeah, right now, again, you have Tua leading with 2,400. I mean, that offense, that Miami offense, that's basically why he's leading in the MVP run, right? The odds, because he's just putting up some ridiculous numbers. And I feel like if you go based on stats, that's who's going to win the MVP. I don't know how long Tua can do this for. I like Patrick Mahomes to eventually come out the pack.
Mm-hmm.
So not a lot of changes for awards candidate. 2 for each, and 2 of mine were due to injury. So I can't complain. Ron, we just had week 8. Week number 9 is coming up. Anything that you want to tell the fan base?
Let's see. Enjoy the games. We just finished Halloween. It was great yesterday. The weather here has been beautiful. So I'm glad the Steelers are playing on Thursday. I can, watch them play tomorrow, and then I got my weekend pretty much free. See if I watch any football on Sunday. I'll probably try to watch a little bit. Yeah, man. This is the mid-season. Let's root for the Steelers if you're a Steelers fan or a Patriots fan. I don't know. What can you say if you're a Patriots fan at this point? Like, what's the attitude in New England?
I mean, it's a weird attitude because they already know that they're not gonna get rid of Bill, and he's here for the long, at least until he breaks the record. And people were like, "Oh, let's just not talk about the record, period." And I was like, I feel like they're connected, right? Like you can't separate Bill Belichick from this coach's record, right? It's like they're mixed together, and I feel like the Patriots are gonna suffer. There's no other way to put it. This is a suffering. Robert Kraft not gonna fire Bill Belichick. He's not gonna trade him. I know that this week there was a big conversation about, are the Commanders gonna take him? No. And I know that in the past there've been coaches that got traded. Bill Parcells got traded for the past Jets. Herm Edwards got traded. Why would you do that, Kansas City? But they did. Gruden got traded, so it happens. But I feel like Bill Belichick's resume speaks for itself, so he's not gonna get traded, especially to a team that's gonna have to give up the number 1 pick to get him. So I just don't see that happening. Really, it's just we're not tanking. The Patriots not tanking. Can they make 7 wins at this point? Because now I was looking at the odds, and now they dropped to 5 wins.
Holy cow!
Yes.
Wow.
So basically, all he has to do is have more than 5 wins to make it, to beat the odds, basically.
So you're telling me the entire city has turned to the Celtics basketball and then Bruins at this point already?
I mean, I wouldn't say that, but everything I've read, everything I've seen is like they're already taking draft. They're already thinking, who should we take? But let's be honest, whatever the fans think, that's not what the actual organization is going to do. So you can speculate all you want. Is Bill's there? He's going to take some, alternative footballer from a Division III college, and you're just going to have to be happy. So it's...
I had a friend who I was talking to, it might have been you, and I said, I'd rather be a horrible team than be stuck in mediocrity. It's kind of where I feel the Steelers are right now. They're stuck at 500 or 9-8 or 10-7 or whatever, and that's where we'll be for ever. That's where I feel like we are, and I'd rather be 2-14 and have something to hope for than just be stuck. You're just good enough not to fire your entire staff, but not good enough to ever do anything in the playoffs.
Yeah, this is I mean, fans are going through it. I'm going through it, but I'm taking it more, more with a grain of salt than other people, because I basically was there when they were really, really terrible, when they had the dynasty, and then now they're back to being terrible. I'm okay with it. Listen, when you witness 6 Super Bowl wins, 9 Super Bowls, 10 conference championships, I have no qualms about that.
Yeah, it's nothing to complain about.
Yeah, nothing to complain about. So that was week 9 for you guys. Next week we'll have week 10. Hopefully our teams win.
Hey guys, thanks again for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Any questions or comments, feel free to hit us up on Shut Your Mouth Podcast at Gmail.
Sam Podcast Show.